joining us now here on Kincade and Salciunas on this Thursday with Andrew DeCecco. He does amazing work at ESPN. He's also a pretty good podcast host with this guy that we know.
Too.
Is this a great game or what? The great podcast that Tim Kurkjian hosts along with his son that we know from right down the hall. Tim, good morning. How are you?
I'm well, fellas. How you doing?
We're doing great. It's once again silly season in Phillies baseball because we're wondering where they're going to get a right-handed bat. We'll get to that in a second, but Cristopher Sanchez, his scoreless streak comes to an end yesterday. Would love to just hear you talk about the dominance of Cristopher Sanchez, not just during this streak, but what he has been able to become in Major League Baseball.
Well, as we know, it's the longest streak in the history of the Phillies, and they've been around since 1883. When you do something that Grover Cleveland Alexander, even he couldn't do, that's pretty amazing. And when you consider that only 4 other pitchers in the history of Major League Baseball, including the great Walter Johnson, and I went to Walter Johnson High School, had a longer consecutive inning streak, scoreless streak, than Cristopher Sanchez, that is really amazing. And, fellas, you saw the month of May. He gave up no runs and struck out 45. Since the mound was moved to its original place in 1893, he's only the second pitcher to ever have a month quite like that. That's how great he's been. And when he has one of the best changeups I've ever seen. The league is hitting like 167 against it now. And when you throw 96 miles an hour and you have an elite changeup like that, there's nowhere to go. I was up there the other night for Lou Gehrig Day, and I talked to a couple Padres, and one of them just looked at me and said, that guy's a nightmare. He's a nightmare to face. And we have seen that now for 2 years, but especially this year.
Have you seen a player that really because he has sort of come out of nowhere as far as what was expected of him when the Phillies got him? Nobody really even knew who he was when they got him from the Rays. So have you seen a player, though, show this kind of, wow, marked improvement, just constantly getting better like he has, that we could compare him to?
Well, John, this is the beauty of baseball as we know. The light goes on for guys at all sorts of different times. And then it goes off for them also. And you just don't even know when it's going to happen. As opposed to the NBA, the NFL, no complete no-name shows up and is the best player on the Sixers. No complete no-name shows up and is the best player on the Eagles. But in baseball, this happens all the time. And yes, there was nothing to suggest that he was going to be this good. But they found something inside him, and maybe he found it, and that's the reason he is as good as he is. This is why baseball is so great. I mean, no one saw Mark the Bird Fidrych being this good, and he just exploded on the scene. Then he got hurt, and he was gone. This guy has staying power, late 20s, and, again, the stuff is spectacular, and the competitive nature is pretty darn good, too.
Bryce Harper recently commented on the team's minimal offensive output, and he remarked that he doesn't believe that it's sustainable. Do you agree with his assessment?
I do. They have not hit. I'm surprised by that. 90% of the teams in the major leagues haven't hit yet either, given the stuff they face every single night. It's like no time in baseball that I've ever seen. The stuff these guys see, I say it every night. I go to a game, do a game, call a game. I don't know how anyone gets a hit anymore. But the Phillies are way better than this offensively. This is going to start to turn once everybody gets healthy. And I'm not suggesting they're going to be a great offensive team. They might have a great pitching team if everything goes right the rest of the way. But, yeah, they have to score more runs. They're going to score more runs, and they have to get a right-handed hitter at the trade deadline if they're going to be the team they want to be, that is, get back to the World Series.
So, Tim, you say that this could be a recorded interview from 2023. It could be a recorded interview from 2024. It could be a recorded interview from 2025. I will just let our audience know that we are live on June 4th, 2026, talking to Tim Kurkjian. The right-handed bat issue that has plagued this team for years, ever since Rhys Hoskins got hurt in spring training, they've tried addressing it, but with Austin Hayes, right, like a platoon-like player. Harrison Bader, who I know was red hot for them last year, but nobody thought that Harrison Bader was going to end up being a middle-of-the-order guy, which he did end up being. Do you believe the Phillies front office will try to make another move like that, or will they go to the big pond and trade for a big fish, and maybe the guy's last name is Trout for all I know?
Well, of course they're going to try to get the best right-handed hitter available. But as we just said, nobody can hit anymore. So if you have a good right-handed hitter on your team, why would you trade him? That's the point. And as for Mike Trout, by the way, Mike Trout has walked 60 times this year.
It's amazing.
He's walked in 21.4% of his plate appearances. And it just means they're not pitching to him. Why would they when he's on in a lineup where you can pitch around him? But, yes, this would make all the sense in the world for Mike Trout to come to play for the Phillies. But we've been talking about that for 5 years also. So my guess is that's not going to happen. But this thought that they're just going to go out and land a middle-of-the-order right-handed hitter out there, I'm sorry, I'm just not seeing it, because those guys either don't exist or they're not available.
Tim, who do you like? There's got to be two schools of thought when we're heading into a potential lockout. Either teams are going to go for it, or teams are going to be cautious because they don't know what the financial structure and the rules are going to be after a lockout is in place and they figure out what the new structure of baseball is going to be. Do you think that the pending lockout is going to affect this year's trade deadline?
Yes, I do. And again, this is not my money. And I also grew up around Earl Weaver, who used to always say, try to win this year and then figure out next year. So my guess is some teams will look at this if they have enough money and say, we got to go for it now. We got to win the World Series before potentially we lose a bunch of games or an entire season. We have to win the World Series before the way the game is played, the way the game is handled completely changes. So now's the time to go for it all. That's what I think some teams will do. But you got to have the money in order to do it even for the rest of the year, and it could affect you next year. So this is just another really confusing and complex issue that we're going to have to deal with moving forward with this lockout impending. I mean, it's going to be a mess, but I think it's going to lead to a lot of teams at the trade deadline saying, all right, we got to win now because we don't know what next year is going to bring.
Tim, speaking of that, reading the tea leaves, when this is all said and done, there will be baseball eventually. Do you think there will be a salary cap? I know that's the biggest thing that's going to be fought over between both parties.
I don't think there's going to be a salary cap in 2027. Now, this is a guess. This is what we're here for. This is why they're exchanging proposals right now to try to get an answer to this. But, fellas, I covered the 81 strike. 81. That was 45 years ago. And we're still talking about similar things. And the union is just not going to accept the salary cap. So somebody has to be really, really clever about how we're going to have something that looks like a cap, but really isn't a cap for this to get done. I don't know who's clever enough to come up with that. I don't know how this is going to happen. I just know the union has been founded on we're not accepting the salary cap, and that's why we are where we are right now.
It's going to be hard to make that argument considering that the NBA, the NHL, and the NFL all have implemented salary caps since that time, and they've all seen the players on their rosters, salaries go up, franchise values go up, their sports thrive. It's really hard to make the argument that a salary cap hasn't benefited all of those other sports.
Yeah, I totally agree, and this is we are where we are. The union in baseball has always said we're the strongest union out there.
Yep.
Nobody pushes us around, and that has indeed been true. It's amazing how well the Players Association has done over the years. However, work stoppage is not a good sign, and again, fellas, this is the worst possible time for this. Mm-hmm. After October, it was an amazing October. It's the greatest World Series I've ever covered. It was a tremendous World Baseball Classic, and we're off to a stunningly great start to this season. So we can't allow this to happen. Fortunately, I talked to someone recently who knows a lot, and he said, Tim, there's way too much money to be lost for the players, way too much for the owners to be lost. There's too much money in the game to shut it down. So I'm hoping that that's going to happen. But at this moment, I'm not encouraged.
All right, Tim, last thing. My partner to my left, the great John Kincade, we have, like, music for it. His obsession with Don Mattingly. It's John and Don. It's hard to ignore that since Rob Thompson was dismissed of his duties, the Phillies quickly turned their season around, very much like things happened in 2022 when they moved on from Joe Girardi. Please hit the music, Connor. I'm curious if you could speak to John. From what you have heard, how much of an impact has Don Mattingly truly made to the Philadelphia Phillies?
Talk to me, too. Whisper to me, Tim.
Let's be clear from the beginning. Rob Thompson was not the problem. Rob Thompson did not deserve to lose his job. However, Don Mattingly is a borderline Hall of Famer. In fact, I think he should be a Hall of Famer. He was the best player in baseball for 5 years. And the players know that. They know who he is and how great he was. And they listen when he speaks. Today's players need a resume in order to completely respond to somebody. And Don Mattingly's resume is really, really good. And I think they look at him and say, this guy's one of the greatest defensive first basemen ever. And he did things that very few hitters have ever done. So, yes, I think he has had an impact just because he's Don Mattingly. And we'll see where this goes from there.
Thanks,
Well,
Tim. We appreciate
Tim,
the
thank
time.
you, buddy. By
John,
the way-
John's blushing over there.
By the way, I saw the video of you and your lovely granddaughter meeting at the door before her dance recital. I got a tear in my eye.
That's awesome.
That was so cute. That was so cute.
Well, thank you, John. And I'm sitting in my other granddaughter's driveway right now, and as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to take children out for pop-up duties again. So
that's
This is
awesome.
what I do. I cover baseball and take care of grandchildren.
I love that. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Tim. We appreciate the time. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, guys. See you.